no other park like it.
When it's hot out, this is a great place to spend the day with your family. There are lots of big things for little kids to do.
I love Action Park because it's so beautiful.
This is just like coming to Broadway. It's wonderful.
Race like a pro. It's great.
These are the most amazing rides in the world. I love it here.
Imaging a sprawling amusement park, buzzing with excitement. Thousands of thrill seekers flock here every weekend, their laughter and screams echoing through the valley. They race down winding slides, zoom around chaotic tracks, completely oblivious to the danger that surrounds them. This isn't a scene from a horror movie. This was a real place. This was Action Park in Vernon, New Jersey. A park so notorious it earned nicknames like Accident Park, Traction Park, and the most fitting of all, Class Action Park. It was a place where fun and fear were two sides of the same coin, where safety rules were merely suggestions, and where every ride was a test of sheer will, and sometimes, survival. Welcome to the story of the world's most dangerous amusement park. Our story begins in the mid-1970s at a small ski resort called Vernon Valley. Like many ski resorts, it faced a classic problem. When the snow melted in the summer, so did the profits. The owner, a man named Eugene Mulvihill, needed a plan to keep the money coming in all year round. The solution seemed simple enough: transform the snowy slopes into a summer playground. So, in 1976, they built their very first summer attraction, the Alpine Slide. Guests would hop into a small plastic sled with a handbrake and careen down a long, winding concrete track built right into the side of the mountain. It was fast, it was exhilarating, and it was inherently dangerous. The ride was an instant hit. By 1978, the park expanded, adding more water slides and a go-kart track. The visitors came pouring in. The park was still relatively small, but its reputation for wild and filtered fun was already spreading like wildfire. Fast forward to the early 1980s, and Vernon Valley officially rebranded itself as Action Park. And action was exactly what you got. The park had exploded in size, now boasting over 75 unique attractions. On a packed weekend, you could find over 20,000 people there. But the real draw of Action Park wasn't just the rides themselves, it was the intoxicating sense of freedom. There were virtually no rules. You controlled the speed of your sled on the Alpine Slide. You could jump off cliffs into freezing cold water. The staff were often just teenagers, barely older than the guests, with minimal training and even less authority. Safety precautions were an afterthought. This created a perfect storm of adrenaline and chaos, making it a legendary destination for teens and young adults hungry for an adventure they couldn't find anywhere else. Action Park became a rite of passage, a place where anything could, and often did, happen. But with this unchecked freedom came dire consequences. Every single summer, the park was a battlefield of broken bones, deep cuts, sprains, and concussions. It's estimated that on any given weekend, dozens of people would need medical attention. The local emergency rooms were so overwhelmed by the constant stream of injured park-goers that Action Park had to buy its own fleet of ambulances just to handle the volume. It got so bad that they started calling it Traction Park because so many people left in casts. The first fatality occurred in 1980, when a park employee was thrown from the Alpine Slide and hit his head on a rock. This was only the beginning. Over the course of its troubled history, Action Park would be linked to the deaths of at least 6 people. The causes ranged from drowning in the wave pool to electrocution on the kayak ride, to a heart attack on a water slide. Despite the horrifying statistics and the growing body count, people just kept coming back for more. In a strange twist, the park seemed to lean into its dangerous reputation. Their marketing slogans were almost a dare: "The action never stops," at Action Park, and where you're the center of the action. They weren't just selling rides, they were selling risk. The pain and the fear became part of the experience, a badge of honor for anyone who survived a day at the park. Each ride became legendary, not for its design, but for its stories of chaos. The Cannonball Loop was a water slide with a full, vertical loop. It was so poorly designed that test dummies came out dismembered. They allegedly offered employees $100 to test it. Many who tried it came out with bloody noses and back injuries. It was only open for about a month before the state shut it down for good. Then there was the tidal wave pool, affectionately nicknamed the grave pool. And like modern wave pools with their gently sloping entrances, this one had a deep end and a shallow end, and the waves were massive. The water was fresh, cold mountain water, which could shock your system. The pool was often overcrowded, and the lifeguards, many of whom were just teenagers, were overwhelmed. It's reported that on a busy day, they would perform up to 30 rescues. Tragically, 3 people drowned in that wave pool over the years. Another infamous ride was the Tarzan swing. You'd grab a rope, swing out over an ice-cold spring-fed pool, and let go. But the water was so cold it could cause people to go into shock, making it difficult to swim to the side. People would also hang on for too long and smash into the concrete edge, or let go too early and land on the rocks below. It was pure, unadulterated mayhem. The Alpine Slide remained one of the park's signature attractions and one of its most consistent injury producers. You were given a sled with a handbrake that was supposed to control your speed, but it was notoriously unreliable. One setting was slow, which was basically useless, and the other was fast enough to cause a fatal accident. If you went too slow, you risked being rear-ended by the person behind you. If you went too fast, you could fly off the track at a sharp turn, landing on the rocky ground below or getting severe friction burns from the concrete chute. The tracks themselves became littered with shed skin and blood from previous riders. The employees at the bottom would hose down the tracks at the end of the day, washing away the evidence of the day's carnage. And what about the people running this place? The employees were mostly young, undertrained, and often under the influence. Former employees have shared stories of a wild, party-like atmosphere behind the scenes. They were given minimal instructions and were largely left to manage the chaos on their own. This lack of supervision meant that rules were rarely enforced. Visitors would ride down water slides in human chains, stand up on the go-karts, or try to climb the rock faces of the cliff diving attraction. It was a perfect storm of a reckless owner, poorly designed rides, and a complete disregard for safety. So, how did a place like this stay open for so long? The park's owner, Eugene Mulvihill, was a master at navigating legal trouble. He created a web of shell corporations and insurance schemes to protect himself from the endless stream of lawsuits. Whenever the park was sued, which was often the parent company would declare bankruptcy, only to reopen under a slightly different name, leaving plaintiffs with little to nothing. The park faced intense scrutiny from state regulators, but Mulvihill often found ways to sidestep the rules or use his influence to keep the park operating. It wasn't until the mid-90s that the legal and financial pressures finally became too much. Facing mounting lawsuits and bad press, Action Park officially closed its gates in 1996. But the legend of Action Park never died. It lived on in the stories of those who dared to visit, in the scars they carried, and in the dark humor that surrounded its legacy. It represents a bygone era, a time before helicopter parenting and safety obsession, when kids were let loose to discover their own limits. Was it irresponsible? Absolutely. Was it dangerous? Without a doubt. But for a generation of thrill seekers in the tri-state area, it was also unforgettable. Today, a new, much safer water park operates on the same grounds, but the ghost of Action Park still lingers. It serves as a bizarre, terrifying, and strangely nostalgic reminder of what can happen when the pursuit of fun is pushed to its absolute and deadliest extreme. It was a social experiment on a massive scale, and the results were as thrilling as they were horrifying. Thanks for watching. If you have any memories of Action Park, share them in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this.